welcome and thank you for taking time out of your day to come to the State of the University. It is always great to see so many familiar faces. And today, with the State of the University, I wanted to give you a sense of the run of show. It's going to be a little different. I think it was my choice. It's my idea, actually. I wanted different voices for the State of the University because this is not the Chancellor's University. This belongs to all of us, and I thought that it'd be good for you to hear from experts in our three pillar areas so that they could talk a little bit of detail around student success, research excellence, and employer of choice. And then I'll come in and do some wrap-up comments because that's what chancellors do, right? Wrap it up. And then I will open the floor for Q&A. And you feel free to ask the questions that you want to ask. I know we have a virtual audience. I want to welcome them as well to this. And after we finish all of that, there are cookies to the right here. As you exit your right, and maybe some punch too, Laura, I'm sure. And I want to invite you to indulge in a reception, a small reception following. And so the order will be Suzanne McCray, who needs no introduction, Margaret McCabe, and Ann Bordelon. And of course, we have our provost here, Terry Martin. He is our Q&A guru, and he will be here to help us manage your questions, and feel free to ask them. And so without any further ado, I want to ask Suzanne McCray to come and talk to us a little bit about enrollment and student success. Suzanne?
Thank you. I'm really pleased to be here to share good news and to also share some of the things that we are working on that we want to address in the coming years. We know, we have record enrollment. You can feel it at Starbucks. You can see it on the weekend. It's so annoying. That part. But it's a vibrant, wonderful campus, and it's exciting, and every group of people here helped contribute to that enrollment growth and to the vibrancy of our campus. Now, here are some numbers that you've seen in the paper and you've read about. Our total enrollment this year of 32,140, the undergraduate enrollment, the overall enrollment up 15.7% over the last 5 years. That's really significant. 6,344 in the freshman class. In 2019, our freshman class was 4,601. That is a 38% growth. And so that is something that will follow us, that growth from last year and the year before. That's going to follow us and try, as I'll mention later, help keep us cliff resistant. Now we're getting ready to graduate a class that is much smaller and add another class that is larger. And I'm going to share some numbers that you probably don't know. On Thursday, we had our first decision day. And on that day, we had over 15,000 applications for admission. Just 2 years ago, we had 21,000 applications for admission for the whole year. That is amazing, right? Every day I check. Today, we're at 15,586 applications for admission. This was taken on Monday. And so it's just growing. And what does that mean for us? Well, one, we admitted on that first day, we admitted 9,000 students, 9,797 students. We need about 20,000 admitted students to hit our class. And our class goal is 6,800 or a little above. Now, I will tell you, I've told other people this, but I'll tell this group, it's a saying among enrollment people that hitting a number like 6,800, the 6,800 number is a fiction. I just want to say that. It's a range, right? It's like jumping out of an airplane and trying to hit a kiddie pool. And sometimes it feels like a teacup. Last year, we had our 20,000 admitted students, just as we had the year before. So 2 years in a row, we had 20,000 admitted students, but we had different yield rates. One year, we had 34% yield rate, and we had a class of 7,096, right? Our yield rate was smaller last year because we waitlisted some people, and they didn't come here. And we had the class of 6,344. So yield is everything, but predicting that can be a trick. We have some great people who are helping us manage those numbers and think about those numbers, and we are going to get as close to that fictional 6,800 as we can, but do know it could go a little either way. Our goal is to aim a little high. What does this kind of growth, what does that mean for us? It means that we had a record class of Arkansans, 175 more than we had the year before. That's really remarkable when you understand that of all the Arkansans who graduate from high school, only 56% of them last year went to college. When the cliff hits, only 42% of them will go. So we have some challenges, and we're doing everything we can to prepare for that year, 2027, when that real reduction is supposed to hit, when that birth dearth is supposed to hit us. We are doing everything we can to prepare for it so that we don't have a loss of the student body, of the vibrancy you see on campus, or a loss of revenue that helps fund a lot of things we do, including scholarships for Arkansans. Now, one of the things that we've done, as you know, Faculty Senate passed, we are now a test-optional institution. For several years, we were actually test blind. We didn't look at all. And then we had parents call us and say, but my kid has a really good ACT score, and I want you to look. And so we moved to test optional. Those same kids with those really good scores also have really good grades, so we look and say, yay, and they're admitted, right? Because we really think that GPA is the most important single indicator. And that test optional did a lot of great things for us. One, it got us in every high school in this state. Prior to going test optional, there were whole schools in this state who would not let us come in. They said to us, nobody in our school, including our valedictorian, meet your minimum requirements. Something was wrong with that picture. And test optional has opened the door to all of those schools. And our goal is to have in the freshman class students from every single county. And we can't do that without test optional, and that's been incredibly important to us. We are now admitting students every day. So on last Thursday, we started, and now it's every day for Arkansans. We never wait list in Arkansas, and we never plan to. We admit out-of-state students every Thursday so that we can see what the numbers are, and so that we can manage that pool. It is wonderful to be a destination university, both in Arkansas and out of state. It's exciting, and that's why we had record number admits. Also, when we have record numbers of applications, we get to choose. We're no longer like the whale shark where everything just comes in, right? We get to pick and choose what we do. I'm not going to say we're like a shark. That image is probably not one I should continue with. Okay. Shaping the class. My kid studies whale sharks, what made me think of it. But anyway, shaping the class. This is what we want to do. We want to balance the number of out-of-state students. Last year, for this class, for the class of 2023, 46% of our freshman class was in-state. The year before that, it was 43%. We're aiming next year somewhere in between. We also want to balance out-of-state admission, so we hit a lot of different states. We expand our reach. We become a truly national university, and all of that means. Also, when we get to be selective out of state, more selective, when we waitlist students at higher GPAs, we know that they affect the classroom. They come in, and they are not hugely better prepared than our Arkansas students. We have amazing Arkansas students who are coming to our campus. Their GPAs, entering GPAs, are very close to the same. But out of state, we're going to be able to be more and more selective. And that's going to mean graduation retention rates go up. That means the conversation in the classrooms become more engaged, more connected, and it improves the intellectual and academic life of our campus. This is a chart I love. This is the average GPA starting in 2012, where you can see that we were at a 3.6, and where we are today in 2023 at a 3.79. Well, let me tell you, it's a 3.794. Or we would have rounded up to a 3.8, but we're saving that for next year, okay? And that's where I hope that we are headed next year. Now, with this selectivity, what does that mean for ethnic diversity on our campus? We are thinking about that, and the good news in the enrollment, this 15,088 students that we've had apply on that by decision day. Of those students, diversity is up in every category. We are really pleased that African American applications are up over 40%, and so are those from Latino students. This is amazing. Now, recruitment, we're out there, we're doing a lot, but from the date of application to admit, there's nothing we can do there to increase those numbers. We have to increase them in the application pool because, as you know, Supreme Court, we cannot do anything when we waitlist students. We don't even see it. Slate, which we use to admit students, does not report gender or ethnicity, so we don't see that, and we don't make decisions based on that. But we know if we have a bigger pool, we have a better chance of having a larger number in our enrolled students. So we're excited about that, and this is a chart we want to keep going in this direction. All right, student success, that's part of my charge today to chat about. So we can affect student success by who we bring in. And then, but that's not the end. What do we do from orientation to graduation? Now, I'm speaking here about undergraduate students, but a lot is going on with the graduate school as well, and there are a lot of success efforts headed on there, and I am sure that we will have a chance to talk more about that later, but I'm here to talk about undergraduate student success. We have a lot of programs, not just for degree-seeking new freshmen. I report on them a lot, and so sometimes people think that's our main concern. It is not. We have the Arkansas Transfer Achievement Scholarship. You know about that. Our sister schools. We have now spent $2.5 million on that scholarship to bring students who have associate degrees to our campus, and we know they'll succeed. They've already proven that they'll succeed by getting that first degree. I do want to talk a little bit about work study. Work study is a great program. We receive $1 million in work study funds each year. Last year, we awarded $450,000 of those dollars in work study. We were down in the number of students since COVID. We've been down in the number of students who are actually participating in work study. We're not at risk of losing the funds, but we are wanting not to turn that money into SEOG grants that are free. We want to have students working on our campus because we know when they do that, they're more likely to graduate. So I do want to take this moment to encourage everybody in the room, hire work study. It's a bargain for you. You only pay a quarter of the cost. It's a great thing for the students because you will mentor them and they get to connect with a department on our campus, and that really helps retain them. So please hire work study. Pell has grown on our campus. This year we have 736 Pell students in the freshman class. 50% of those students were full Pell. Pell is incredibly important, and I'm going to give you some numbers in just a minute. And there are things that we want to do help Pell and work-study students succeed. This year, we're hiring 3 financial literacy counselors. Student Success is hiring 1, Student Affairs is hiring 1, and then the Financial Aid Office is hiring 1. This person will actually be a financial aid counselor, but will also do financial literacy workshops across the state for incoming new freshmen, and will be the go-to person for the other 2 financial literacy counselors in those 2 programs to be their first call. They will call that financial aid counselor, and that financial aid counselor will make sure that the students are getting all the funds that they can, and that they can serve as a liaison for those students. So that we are really excited about. We are also thinking about students not just from the point of view of enrollment. A big word in our office is re-enrollment. How do we bring a student here and sustain their enrollment over the 4 to 5 years it takes them to graduate? There's a lot of work that's going on, not across the campus, in the departments, in the colleges, in the global campus. We're trying to make sure that our online students feel connected and have support systems as well. So that is really key. Here's the number of dollars right now, federal dollars, that we have Pell dollars. It's gone up 14% since last year. That's because last year we had more students. But we expect this number to continue to grow. We are attracting students in this state who need that financial support. But we also want to support them with scholarships. I came to the University of Arkansas on a BEOG grant. I'll tell you something about how long ago that was. It didn't get its name Pell until the next year, but it was a Pell grant. I didn't even know I had work study until the English department offered to hire me, and that was great. But I did not have a financial literacy counselor, and I wish that I had. I also had a scholarship, so I needed the Pell grant, but I was proud of the other. And we want to provide the same opportunity for all our students. You have Pell, great. That's the support you need, but we want to reward that academic effort that you made in high school as well. Poor does not mean unambitious or not smart. But unfortunately, what it does mean is that these students have more challenges than students who are not low income. And that gets in the way of retention and graduation. And you can see these numbers here. This we need to work on. Pell eligible students in Arkansas retain and graduate at lower rates than students who are not Pell eligible. And that we have to change. And to do that, we can look at some successful programs already on our campus. I want to give a shout out to these programs: the PATH program, ECAP, ASAP, the TAP program, Coach 360. There is an alphabet soup of support out there. I have 2 great pictures here. These are PATH students. Miguel Marin studying abroad, you can see the Leaning Tower, and Brianna Kilgore doing undergraduate research. Those are transformational experiences. We know the Honors College has made a great record of those transformational experiences: study abroad, undergraduate research, co-ops, internships. What we've got to do is scale up and make sure that students across the board can have access to these kinds of opportunities. We need to grow these programs bigger and stronger and include more students. There's some really great success things going on. Student Success pointed out that last year, 86% retention rate for Arkansas residents, the highest in our history. That is amazing. They're also addressing those students who have low performances in the first year, and they increased retention among those students by 11%. They are targeting students in trouble to help bring them to a more successful conclusion. And we need to give them a shout out for that. There are lots of opportunities ahead. It's exciting. It's fun to work in a place that is energized about who we're bringing to our campus and what their opportunities are going to be. And we want them to come in with those dreams, that ambition, and make sure we do our part so those dreams are realized at the end of the day. Thank you.
Thank you. That was awesome. I hope everybody felt really good about that. I heard nothing but good news and opportunity from Suzanne, and that's part of why we're here. And I love what you said. It's fun. It should be fun. I hope you all feel fun when you come to work here every day. I know that's one of the reasons I'm here. For now, I'm here to give you all maybe a mini class in what is research excellence. In the next 8 to 10 minutes, my goal is to really help us achieve a common understanding of what we mean when we say research excellence. Suzanne has a rich history of introducing concepts like she just did, and that good news we've been building, and we've been working for that for a long time. Ask you to think about, what do you hear when you say research excellence? We're still building that narrative. And so in the next little bit, I've got 3 objectives. First, I want to give you a reminder of the history of why research at a land-grant university, and why it's such an enduring part of our mission. Next, I'll talk about our 150 Forward goals and objectives and some of the progress we've made. But most importantly, I want to tell the stories today, stories that I want you to know. I can't tell all of them, but we have so many good ones, just like Suzanne just gave us a lot of great stories on student success. And then we'll end hopefully with a celebration of the people, because each of you is really important to research excellence. So I hang out with the Chancellor too much because I feel compelled to start with history. But I'm also a lawyer, so there's a little law in here too. So get ready for class. So you all know this. In 1862, the Morrill Act provided federal means for states like ours to establish universities like this one. And why did we do that? Just like Suzanne said, it was so we could provide access to higher education for people who did not have that opportunity. And that's a really important part of our legacy. 25 years later, in 1893, the Hatch Act linked those land-grant universities to agricultural experiment stations. Congress was intentional there. They wanted our land-grant universities to produce research that would make American farming strong, not only to provide for resilient rural economies and a growing nation, but to provide food security for our country and the globe. So that's a long time ago. Those 19th century legislators actually had a lot of wisdom in that they had tied together way back then research, innovation, and economic development in enduring ways. And today our research is well beyond agriculture, but the definition remains the same. And this is something I want you all to think of when somebody says, well, what does research excellence mean anyway? I know those conversations happen out there. What it means is we strive to discover, create, and disseminate knowledge that benefits society. Modern times are really exciting for the research enterprise in America. Despite the federal dysfunction that we all see playing out on the headlines, don't forget, Congress passed and the President signed the CHIPS and Science Act, a recognition that science and research is the way forward for our country. And this university is well positioned to play a critical role and an important role in things like the semiconductor industry, environmental research, and understanding what the solutions are to some of our most challenging problems. So what have we been doing in terms of defining research excellence, in terms of our goals? Some of you are very familiar with this. Some of you may be seeing it for the first time. This is our touchstone of what is research excellence. Together as a community, we seek to attain a lasting reputation for deep expertise, high-quality education, and research outputs. We seek to align the research enterprise with society's needs and the economy across the region, state, nation, and world. And this is very important. We seek to achieve a sustainable and shared research enterprise that adopts and develops best practices across a number of areas: research administration, growing faculty support for recruiting and retaining our best faculty, growing graduate education, and also allowing access to undergraduates in the research enterprise. So those are great goals. I also don't want you to think we've just been talking for the last year. We've actually been doing. We've been operationalizing research excellence for a long time. So what are some of the progress points? Research expenditures have reached record levels for the University of Arkansas. $184.7 million. That's a $20 million increase over the prior year. That's thanks to all of you. You all did that. That wasn't one person. Record invention disclosures, record number of new options and license agreements executed, record numbers of new technologies licensed. We should also celebrate this. The national average is 20% of patents have a woman inventor. At this university, that number is 46%. 46% of our patents have women, yes, as co-inventors. You all did that. You supported that environment, and that's part of research excellence. We've also made remarkable strides in building our research infrastructure. This is somewhat mind-boggling to me. When I was getting ready for today, I was thinking, what I want you to know is we have the Anthony Timberlands building coming online. iCubed-R is over there on Dixon, growing every day. The multi-user silicon carbide fabrication facility known as MUSIC, we've broken ground on it. And we're building the nanotechnology clean room. That's all going on right now, and that's research excellence. Those are all really interesting factoids and words, but I want you to know the stories. Some of you know these stories, and some of you don't. But let's talk about research excellence going forward. What is it? It's strategic, and here's an example of what's strategic. Many of you know Dr. Alan Mantooth. 20 years ago, not 20 minutes ago, 20 years ago, Alan set the goal of clean, reliable, and affordable power, and contributing to that through research. Over the years, not only Dr. Mantooth, but names that are known to many of our students and to many of you, Dr. Salomo, Dr. Balda, Dr. Yu, Dr. D, Dr. Chen, among others, Dr. Churchill, along with their graduate students, their postdocs, they've become a powerhouse of attracting federal and industry funding. They've advanced power grid stability, night vision clarity for soldiers, and electric-powered aircraft. And now, with the MUSIC facility, they bring us to new frontiers in semiconductor technology. Our MUSIC fab facility will be the first of its kind in the nation. Think about that. Arkansas, first in the nation. That's really remarkable, and that came from being strategic, not only Dr. Mantooth, but all of his colleagues and many of you who over the year have supported that work. But at the end of the day, the strategy's outcome, cooler, faster, more affordable chips to power the world's technology, will come from this university. And if you're like, yeah, that's coming. Some of us were down at the research park yesterday. Wolfspeed is doing that today on our university campus. That's the University of Arkansas, and that's research excellence. Research excellence is also the Institute for Integrative and Innovative Research, led by Dr. Renu Jung. I know Renu's out there, can't see her, I'm blinded by the light, but she illustrates how teams of researchers with different perspectives can tackle wicked problems while creating innovations with economic value. But I also want to focus on her work because it's so important. Imagine a soldier who lost his arm on the battlefield. Before her research, that soldier may have been using an artificial limb, a prosthetic, but it wasn't that functional, and it couldn't feel. It couldn't feel the cup of coffee, couldn't feel the egg. But today, because of her leadership of a collaborative team of federally funded researchers, including UAMS surgeons and Walter Reed Army Medical Center experts, she's conducting a clinical trial of a prosthetic that she invented that allows that soldier to feel. And when she tells me the implant happened 5 days ago and we just got the report, he can feel. I'm in awe, and I know that's research excellence. So thank you, Dr. John. Research excellence is also advancing technologies to benefit Arkansas. Many of you know our Fay Jones School of Architecture and Design is home of the Anthony Timberland Center for Design and Materials Innovation. Arkansas has lots of trees. We can do things with those trees, and we're thinking about that. And what are we going to do with them? Well, it paves the way, this center, for industry and consumer acceptance of timber materials that can solve problems of affordable housing and environmental sustainability. And like music, the research and the materials, they come from Arkansas. They come from this campus. They come from all of us. And that is research excellence. I also want to highlight Dr. Heather Nachman because she's bringing the future closer with her team. She's thinking about next generation vehicles, unmanned aerial transport, and how AI can optimize transportation systems. She's bringing together a strategic vision that seeks to discover, innovate, and create the future of transportation, and in particular freight, right here in Arkansas. And that is research excellence. But the most important point I want to make today in the state of the university is that research excellence is powered by people, all of us. We are the story of research excellence. Behind me are just a few of our researchers who have won competitive awards across all disciplines just in the last few months. Who do we not see? We don't see the plumber making sure that the lab has the right gases and water flowing into it to make sure our science is safe. We don't see the grant accountant who's struggling with lots of emails and posting in a way that complies with federal regulations. And we also don't see that admin assistant who's managing conference planning, slide decks, travel arrangements to make sure that our researchers shine when they're presenting. These are people who are doing the hard work. They're picking up the phone, they're calling colleagues, asking, hey, I'm looking at this thing in Workday, can you help me? Yeah, we know. But it is hard to pick up that phone, isn't it, and say, hey, can you help me get this transaction done because it helps the research go forward? And I know so many of you do that every day, and that is research excellence. So returning to our land-grant mission, we know we pursue research excellence because it improves society. That's what we do. But I also want to remind you that it provides hope. It provides hope to our students. When they see what our researchers are doing, they see a brighter future for themselves, and they also see more secure futures because they know we can solve the problems that we have, and we have so many of them. But I hope it is, true that researchers are also motivated by hope as they build their labs and their data sets and their manuscripts, that they are making a difference. And I've shown you some stories today of how they are, and there are so many more, as I said. But most importantly, none of this is possible, as I've said several times, without each of you. In case this hasn't occurred to you yet, you are the strategy. It's not over there, it's not someone else, it is you. You are the strategy for research excellence. We all play a role in achieving our collective goals, whether it's student success or whether it's employer of choice. Each of us is empowered on this campus to bring excellence and land-grant preeminence to the University of Arkansas. And I have to say, a true model of all of that is who I get to introduce, Executive Vice Chancellor Ann Bordelon, who many of you know is one of the biggest champions of student success and research excellence. She models every day being proactive, being engaged, problem solving, and that's also because I know she believes in the University of Arkansas and all of us and our ability to do great things. So, Ann?
Thanks, Margaret. Excuse me. You used the term, the power of people, and I think that's really why I'm here today to talk about employer of choice, because without the power of people either in research or student success, we wouldn't have any reason to be here, or at least I wouldn't. But first I want to start off by saying Happy Staff Appreciation Week. Last night we held the annual staff recognition banquet and recognized a fairly sizable group of employees who served this institution anywhere from 5 to 50 years. And the number of people who we recognized for 30, 40, and even one at 50 years last night was quite astounding. And even our own Terry Martin received his 40-year award last night. But clearly, the folks recognized last night not only made the decision to come to work here at the university, but they chose to stay here for decades. And today, for the first time, we have a multi-generational employee base like never before, 5 generations in the workforce at the same time, all with unique wants and desires of their career. So what attracted those folks who were celebrated last night might not work for those people who are just starting their career, or even somebody who's been here for 10 years. Not only is our workforce changing, the environment is changing. People have so many more choices today. Opportunities because the region has grown. Opportunities because technology makes it easier to work from anywhere. And opportunities because of demographic shifts, which have created an imbalance in the number of jobs available and the number of people available to work. So we really need to be constantly challenging ourselves about how we continue to attract talent here to the university, but more importantly, once they're here, how do we keep them? And when I first started talking about the desire to be an employer of choice, this is kind of how I thought about it. People should seek to work at the University of Arkansas specifically. We want people to grow their careers across campus thoughtfully and deliberately, not just because some unit can pay a few more dollars to them to attract them over there. We need them. I want people to be really thinking about what their career could be and be deliberate in their path so that they can end up where they think they want to be. And then finally, I want people at the U of A to enjoy the teams that they're working on and enjoy the relationship with the customers that they have across this campus, whether those customers are students, whether those customers are researchers, they may be other faculty or staff. So in my role, I lead a really large organization that supports and enables many of these activities that come across campus. And my purpose is to support the student success, the teaching activities, the research efforts, but also my organization has a huge impact on the context in which every employee works on this campus, from the building and grounds that you work in, to the technology and processes that you use, to the overall safety you experience when you go about your work on campus. And if you were to ask me what my priorities are, I could rattle off about 10 things that has, by the way, it started off at 4, I think, when I first came here, and now it's at 10. Hopefully someday some of those will fall off, but some of them, honestly, will always be priorities because they're things that we just constantly have to reimagine and continue to invest in because of the environment that's constantly changing. So I'm going to contextualize all of those priorities into 3 buckets. And the first one, I totally stole this phrase from James Morrison, who leads our user solutions team that supports our workday efforts. But realizing the power of this phrase in the context of employer choice, I'm sure he won't mind. Across campus, we really need to make it easier and as easy as possible for faculty and staff to focus time and energy during their day on their most purposeful work, not being burdened by administrative tasks that we've placed on them through complicated system design or institutional bureaucracy. But to do that, we need to do a few things. We need to make the monotonous tasks easier to accomplish or eliminate them altogether, making it easier to be good stewards of our limited resources, both people and dollars, and invest them into those mission-critical activities. And then finally, fostering across our campus a culture of data-driven decision-making. A few examples of how we're starting to do those things. As I mentioned, the user solutions team their focus is solely on how to get the most out of the Workday tool, not just the tool itself, but the full business processes that the tool supports. The team was really established last year, but is now staffed in a way that it can be most effective. It's a small but mighty team, and it's tasked with understanding the power of Workday. Where are we underutilizing it? Where have we overcomplicated it? And we have a few examples of that, I think. You could probably all tell me what those are. And you do, which I welcome, by the way. And you know, we can also use Workday to help us provide more transparent reporting. And improving the processes we put into Workday will help everyone spend less time on accomplishing those tasks that burden our day in terms of updating information or even just trying to find the right report. In terms of being good stewards of limited resources, I wanted to share a project that we've been working on in the last year. When I say we, I don't mean we, the VCFA office. I mean we across campus. We have worked on procurement transformation, and we are estimating that we're going to save over $5 million because of the work that's happened over this last year. And not only is that benefiting our campus, some of it is benefiting our sister institutions because Workday is a system-wide tool, and some of the changes we made are going to benefit all of the other University of Arkansas system campuses. I'm really proud of that. And all the while, we're making it easier for faculty and staff to procure the items and services they need. Just a small example, we have taken the number of days to process a requisition from a sad 7 days down to 3 days, and we hope to get to 2. So there's still some work going on in this, and there's a lot of strategic sourcing projects going on. I'm not going to get into all of that detail, but one of the things that came out of this project that I saw the power of was collaboration. We wouldn't have been able to get these savings if it weren't for units coming together and working through these things. I saw central procurement, facilities, athletics, housing, and academics all working together to find common ground on ways that we could source things that we all use every day so that we could lower the cost to campus, and I'm really proud of that. Another area I mentioned was the culture of data-driven decision-making. IT services and the Office of Strategic Analytics and Insights in the Provost Office, working with Microsoft, have launched a data strategy project to create a trusted source of data that's accessible for the wide range of users and use cases around campus, making data-informed decisions easier than ever before. We're in the process, or just have wrapped up, a final series of focus group sessions that over 200 people, data specialists across campus, have participated in. And the project team is using all of that information now to create a roadmap, and a roadmap for our enterprise data hub and how we will operate that as a data-driven community. Dr. McCrae, you gave a lot of statistics in your presentation earlier, and I know what you gave was just the tip of the iceberg of statistics that you have available, and I would say that Suzanne's shop is probably well ahead of most of us in our use of data across campus. And so she has probably a lot higher capability than most of us, but what you have is what I imagine for everyone across campus. Any leader or manager in this institution should have data at their fingertips, and not just data, insights, the ability to understand what the data is telling them at their fingertips, whether that data is HR data, whether it's financial data, whether it's student data, whether in many cases it's all three at the same time and more. And we have to position ourselves to harness all of that data in a logical way that we can help us make great decisions and predict where we're going. And then finally, and maybe just a little look forward, we are also in the very early stages of exploring technology solutions that may help us save people time and allow them to focus on more rewarding work. Artificial intelligence and robotic process automation are not terms that we should be afraid of, but instead we should be exploring them and embracing them so that we can spend more time focused on the learning and the discovery and service rather than the time-consuming tasks that seem to bog us down. And I look forward to seeing where we can go with AI and RPA. The second area I said was fostering career growth. We really want to help our employees thrive personally and professionally, and caring about employees' careers and offering pathways to growth and advancement on campus is paramount. Our foundational project for this, as most of you have heard, is our job classification and compensation project. Without this foundation, we will not have a fully strategic approach to human resources. Across campus, we're committed to creating consistent and more transparent job families, job profiles, and pay structures. Our hope is to outline clear pathways for employees to accomplish their career goals, including the types of skills and experiences that they need that are critical to taking their next step. At the same time, we recognize the compensation challenges that we face in many areas. Creating a more consistent structure will help us future fit our total reward strategy. Today, we're finalizing the mapping of over 2,300 staff members across campus to more consistent job profiles, as I mentioned. And meanwhile, we've also launched a parallel faculty compensation project as well. Additionally, we hope to create a clear playbook of consistent administrative practices that govern how we administer our human resource practices. Overall, we're about 2/3 of the way through the project, and we're on track to begin implementing changes in the next academic year. And then finally, cultivating a top-notch work environment. You don't have to look far to see all of the building projects, Margaret. You mentioned many of them. Where you work, how you get to work, how far away you have to park, your individual workspace are all very important aspects of the quality of your experience as an employee. We've launched a trio of campus planning studies specific to student housing, to parking, and to campus space. And when I say campus space, I mean classroom, offices, and lab space to continue to improve this community where we work and enhance our overall employee and student experience. Our campus master plan is over 20 years old, and it's time to update it to ensure the infrastructure is positioned to meet the needs of our enrollment and our employment needs in the future. These current studies that I just mentioned are going to feed into that master plan project, which we hope to launch sometime in calendar 2024. You heard Dr. McCrae talk about student success and the need for investment in a number of areas. You heard Margaret talk about the importance of investing in research, and I talked about investing in people, whether that's through compensation or improving the context in which they work. And the key word there is investment. We must make these investments, but for them to be successful, collectively, we have to work differently and share resources in ways we never have before in order to make them a reality. Let me say that differently. We cannot afford to work the way we always have if we want to continue to operate from a position of strength, and we will need to work differently. We need everybody to have a mindset that every penny's precious. We need to ensure our employees have the opportunity to work on things that matter most while we simplify or eliminate the administrative work that takes them away from important work. We need to share expertise across campus and increase collaboration and communication and make more of our processes and systems more consistent. And finally, we need to be catalysts for change. The more thoughtful we are about how we work and what additional work we take on, while also evaluating what we might need to stop doing, the better positioned we'll be. And to wrap up, I just want to circle back to where I started and say how much I appreciate our campus community. With it being Staff Appreciation Week, I first want to thank every one of our staff members. You help us ensure that our campus environment's conducive to the learning and the research that's performed every day. I'm also thankful for our faculty members who show their unwavering commitment in the classroom, but also in making those life-changing discoveries that Margaret talked about. And most of all, I'm really thankful for our students who, without them, they gift us purpose every day. And I'm just thankful to be here at the University of Arkansas. So thank you. Chancellor?
I just, again, want to thank our presenters today. They've done such a great job laying out where we are and where we need to go. And, my job is to kind of wrap this thing up. And, when I was thinking about that, I couldn't help but go back into history, imagine that. in 1630, and Jonathan Winthrop, and thinking about when the Puritans were getting ready to sail the Atlantic to come to the New World. Winthrop delivered his sermon, Model of Christian Charity. He talked about how the Puritans were to create a city on a hill. I thought, well, that's convenient for me because I want to create a better university on the hill. And he talked about what would be necessary to do it. So he established the sense of mission, because mission is critical. Having a sense of what you're trying to accomplish is critical. And he told them, look, we can create the city on the hill, and we need to do it, and here's why. The first thing he mentioned was that the whole world would be watching them. He appealed to their ego. I know I don't have to do that here at the University of Arkansas because we don't have big egos here at the university. Then he appealed to their sense of doom and gloom. He told them that if they didn't do it, God would be angry, and that would be that. And so they thought, well, we better get about the work. Now, the point of his appeal was to underscore the hard work that would be necessary to accomplish the great task. People have to feel that they have some purpose in order to do great things, big things. And so my appeal to you is not about ego, it's not about doom and gloom, it's about your sense of connection to your community. That's right, being here at the University of Arkansas means a lot. I've been here for almost a quarter century, and I've seen it evolve and seen it grow. I've got to know so many of you, and each one of you matters to me, and I know that you matter to each other. And to make this community better is absolutely enough of a mission purpose to galvanize us to work more collectively together. And we talk about, well, how do we do it? Beyond the sense of mission, how do we achieve these great things in student success and in research excellence and to become an employer of choice? How do we do it? Well, it was laid out to you very clearly. We have to not only have this sense of mission like never before, but we also have to move away from doing things in the way that we've always done them. I was talking with some of the folks that are on the stage when you walked in, and I made note of where you sat. And I thought, well, that's the Fulbright tribe. I see it up front. Then I saw the business college tribe. They were sitting back. And I saw honors college. You can't miss honors college. I saw Greek life over to my left. I saw tribes all over this arena. And it doesn't bother me because I'm used to it. But that tribal thinking is also part of our challenge. We're accustomed to doing things a certain way and having resources that are our own. I didn't forget education. I see you, Kate, over there looking at me. Doing things our own way, student affairs. And because we're used to doing it that way, it's hard when we introduce ideas that seem to cause us to have to think differently. We talk about space. I have people who ask me all the time, what are you going to do with your growth? How are you going to manage your space? And outside of the first year housing, Jeremy, which is a challenge, we know that we have classroom space. But we have to think about space differently. Space occupancy. How much is really occupied, or is it just that we hold the space because that's the way we've always done it, unit by unit, to make it convenient for ourselves? I know the answer to that question. I was once provost. And so we have to think differently. When it comes to research excellence, how are we going to grow that enterprise? We're going to have to grow that enterprise by investing in that enterprise. And how are we going to do it without raising tuition astronomically? I want this written down. Ryan, I know you're in here. I love the state of Arkansas. Write that down. I appreciate what the state gives us every year as a state allocation. Write that too. And in order for us to grow, we would love to have more. To grow research excellence, economic development, we would love to have more. But we know that more is not likely to come in large measure because there are lots of needs out there. So how are we going to do it? We're going to do it with the money we already have. We're going to do it with the research expansion that we will generate because we know we have indirect cost recovery, and we have a model for that, and the money flows, and there's money sitting in accounts right now, a significant amount. And we have to ask ourselves, is that money sitting in those accounts more important than the University of Arkansas changing the way the money flows so that we can invest strategically? I know the answer to that, because we have to do it differently. I didn't expect to get a lot of go Charles on that. We have to do it differently. When we talk about being an employer of choice, everybody wants more money, right? Everybody wants more in benefits. But class and comp, as Ann mentioned, is not just about giving you more money. It's about establishing, career ladders so that we know where your next step is. It's about establishing balance so that you don't pay people more for the same job in the College of Business than you pay them in Fulbright. That's Fulbright clapping, by the way. We know that we need to invest in being an employer of choice, but that investment does not come from raising tuition astronomically. It comes from us reimagining how we invest. It comes from us thinking about how we can use the money we already have, improve our operations, our shared services, so that we can have more money to invest in you. Everybody wants things to improve for you because you are who matters. For our students as well, we want things to improve. We want you to have more competitive wages. We want you to have more benefits. We want you to have better parking. I probably shouldn't have said that, but yeah, we want it. It's cheaper parking and better transportation. We want you to have more of what you need to be successful and to make the University of Arkansas successful. But it cannot come at a great cost to our students. Higher education is already expensive. It is. It's particularly expensive to poor students, many of them coming from the great state of Arkansas. And as Suzanne mentioned, there is a gap between graduation rates for Pell and non-Pell students, and it's a large gap. Now, the socioeconomic problems that these students have are not the fault of the University of Arkansas. We didn't create them. But when we accepted these students, guess what? We accepted this as our problem. And we have a responsibility to do something about that problem, because if one part of our organization has a problem, we all have a problem. And we're going to do something about it. We're going to look for ways to control the cost of education, particularly for Arkansans, because that is the right thing to do if you want to push student success. We're going to look for ways to raise money to support students in terms of scholarships that need that support, because that's what you do when you're a land-grant institution and you care deeply about success. How do we measure success? Well, how can we say that poorer kids are given a fair chance if they cannot afford to be here? If they have to work 35 and 40 hours a week, how can we expect their outcomes to look like those who don't have to worry about what the fee bill looks like? We're going to take this on. It's hard, but we have a mission. And a mission should be hard. And we're dedicated to being the best University of Arkansas that we can be. And I'm going to wrap up my comments today by making some statements about diversity. I know that my move with regards to the Central Office of Diversity, the Division of Diversity, created some emotional and some concern among campus members. I'm aware of that. I did not enter into that decision lightly. I had much forethought about what I was going to do. And remember, for those of you who don't know, I served as the Chief Diversity Officer from 2009 to 2016. And then when I served during that time, I had questions, really about some fundamental questions about what did diversity mean, who did I serve, who didn't I serve, and how would I serve them? Questions. And so I just made decisions when I was a Chief Diversity Officer. I said, well, what I'm going to do is focus on creating access, more access for students. And I remember we used to go to different schools, and we traveled like MC Hammer. I mean, we had so many people going to these schools, and we would put on these programs so that people could see what the University of Arkansas was all about. And I learned more about the challenge. And as I learned about the challenge, what I realized that the challenge wasn't just about ethnicity. The challenge was about geography. The challenge was about poverty. And some of the people who we should have been working with and really getting them engaged didn't necessarily see diversity as speaking to them. That's what I realized when I was in the role. But we kept working. We created the College Access Initiative, which trains students for college readiness training and does ACT training. And that, we started adopting back then language of first-generation low income so that we could better message who we were trying to support. Now, today, we're in a political environment. That's a tough one, where there are even more questions about what diversity means, who do we serve, how do we serve them? It's real. So what did I do? I'm going to lay it out. We took resources from the Division of Diversity and we put them into to individuals who would support students in student affairs and student success. The issue of the working with students who are poor and getting them connected to jobs at the University of Arkansas. We put a person in student affairs that would help with that regard. We put someone in student success who would help students better retain, who came from one of those, the 360 program that Suzanne mentioned. We put someone in student affairs who supported students who were transfer and commuter students because we identified that there was a need. Then we moved people to HR to help with talent management, HR and OEOC, talent management, talent recruitment, because we know we've got to recruit better. We got to recruit differently to get the best talent. Did this with a sensitivity about people's salaries, because that's being an employer of choice and being sensitive about how you transition people. So we put people in jobs and making salaries, different jobs that were tied to our new organizational focus, but at the same time, they were making the same salary. And then with regards to GAs, we were careful not to take any assistantships from any GAs or any stipend dollars from any GAs. That was a sensitivity. Is what was done. And this was done because we want to bring clarity to what we're doing on this campus. And what we're doing on this campus is doing everything we can to support all of our campus members. Everybody matters. Everybody will be served, and everyone who needs the support will receive the support in the degree in which they need it. That is the goal of this new effort. And this effort, again, is not based on some willy-nilly or even political factor. It's based on our need to try to move the needle in those ways that matter. And so for those who feel like the Chancellor has moved away from equal opportunity, I have not. I believe deeply in equal opportunity. I think it's critical to the land-grant mission. And we're going to continue moving the needle to try to achieve greater equal opportunity because that's what we're all about. So we're moving forward now, committed and dedicated to the idea that each and every one of you matters. We're moving forward now because we know that the research that we're doing is going to change lives. We're moving forward now because our students need us to be forward-thinking and deliberate in what we do to help each and every one of them be more successful. I want to thank each and every one of you for the work that you do every day. I want to encourage you to keep working hard because we need the hard work to make the big changes that we need to make. And I want to now open up the floor. I know time has run longer than we expected for any questions that people might want to raise over this time. Thank you so much.
Testing, testing. There we go. If you have a question, please come right here, see me, raise your hand.
Oh my goodness, can't believe an academic community with no questions. That's frightening. There's a question over here.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you for that, Dr. Robinson. I know you mentioned a large influx of students and how you're working on making the campus a more affordable, livable space. I wondered if you could speak to the housing shortage, both inside and outside the campus. I know faculty and staff have a hard time finding housing, as well as grad students. And I was wondering if the university was going to make inroads with maybe the city to do that, or if we were looking at doing things on campus to help that problem.
Well, we're focusing on our housing for our campus primarily. I know that Jeremy and his team are looking to expand the number of beds that we have available for students by getting some long-term leases where we can have multiple year leases. We're going to assess whether or not we need to build something. We haven't made that determination, but we're looking at trying to secure more beds so that we can have not only beds for our freshman class, but also for returning students and possibly even graduate students, because I know that's part of our thinking moving forward. Now, in terms of the housing shortage in Northwest Arkansas, I don't really have a plan or any action, but we're willing to work with the city to do what we can to support creating more affordable housing for people, particularly for members of our campus community.
I've trained myself to ask questions even if I don't have one. When you say that we all matter,
Yeah.
I've been on this campus longer than anybody in this room. I don't feel that because most of the conversation today was about people who are leading in economic development and products and things that will make money for somebody. I don't do anything like that. I work on lizards, all female lizards. You got that right. So I'm not relevant when you're talking about the progress of the university. That's my feeling. Now tell me why I'm wrong. In other words, when you become an administrator, you become a professional optimist. You are no longer allowed to have negative thoughts.
Well, that's not true. Now, you're wrong about that. I have many negative thoughts. I don't always share them.
Well, the world is probably in its greatest challenge that any of us can remember. And the university is not immune to that. But how do I feel important if I'm not contributing to the development of a product or a medical breakthrough?
Well, again, that's not what was the intention to convey today. I think, Margaret, if you want to speak to it, but the issue, again, research, come on, Margaret, is that all the research is important to us, and she was simply giving a snapshot of some of the research that we think is important for people to know about.
Yep. So all science ultimately can contribute to a better society, and whether that's economic or whether that is our ability to solve problems, something that's really important. Yes, we talked about translational research today. We talked about economics. However, basic research, whether it's with lizards or fruit fly cells or muscle tissue, basic science is the beginning of translational research. Basic science matters. I was with the DoD months ago, and the DoD said to us, we are really excited about all of your research on campus, and we want you to remember that basic science matters. And how does that translate? Everybody remember the periodic chart elements? Do you know it's complete? Is it static? Do our researchers ask themselves that question every day, just as you may ask yourself questions about your research that help advance a field? That's all important. And I hope that you can go back to your lab and feel that you do matter, because you do. The work that you do, the questions that you ask, they also inspire students. You model for students every day what it means to ask important questions and to answer them. And so that's how I think you matter, and I hope that you can embrace that and feel that.
Thank you so much, Chancellor, and everyone. Good morning. I'm Kolade. My concern is throughout this exercise, there's little attention paid to graduate students. It was mentioned briefly, but graduate students play a critical role on campus. All the figures that have been shown today, most of the work are done by graduate students. So I will say that it's important we bring also to the fore challenges that graduate students face and how they are being addressed by the university.
No, it's a good point. And you and I meet every month to discuss issues involving grad students. I know that Terry and his team are looking at how we can better support our graduate students. You know, the challenge of doing any state of the university is that you have roughly an hour, and it's hard to put everything in and even to talk about it in the ways that you want to. But I don't want you to leave here thinking that graduate students aren't on our mind, top of mind, in everything that we do. And so, again, I'm happy to discuss with you in more details about, of course, questions that you might have, or in any way that you'd like to have that discussion take place. And that's true for anyone on this team. I know our time is run, but I just wanted to see if there are any more questions. Again, I want to thank you so much for your leadership and your support for the University of Arkansas. None of us could do anything without you. Thank you for everything that you do, and go Hogs. Thank you so much.